You're mute.
Okay, hi, I'm Tia Paula Fox. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm an alternate to the Behavior Subcommittee of PCCEP and a volunteer in the community with unhoused women. Thank you.
Thank you, Tia. Amy?
Yeah, Amy Anderson here. I am chair of the Behavioral Health Subcommittee.
Thank you, Amy. Let's see. How about Barb? Is Barb available? We can come back to Barb. How about Claudia?
Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Claudia Claudio. I'm the project assistant for PCCEP. Thank you guys all for being here.
Thank you. And Theo?
Hello, my name is Theo Ladd. I'm a PCCEP staff member. I have a small child climbing on me at the moment, but it's nice to be here. Thank you all for having me, and thanks for coming.
Thank you. How about Debbie?
Hi, I'm Debbie Iona with League of Women Voters. As I explained to Ann, I'm just coming here to see if there's any interesting announcements about the status conference. I'm also here with a small child, but I'm in Monterey where it's 68 degrees outside. So I feel sorry for all you guys in Portland.
Lucky you, yes. Let's see. How about Dennis?
Hi, Dennis Rosenbaum, compliance officer, he, him pronouns. It's great to be here. Thanks, Ann.
Jared?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? This is Jared Hager. I use he, him pronouns. Hi, Barb. And I'm with the Department of Justice here in my role as the monitor of the settlement agreement. And I appreciate seeing some familiar faces. It's a good turnout. Thanks.
Thanks, Jared. And I don't know who's on the phone. I don't know who that is, if they want to introduce themselves.
I think that may be Jared as well. Jared, are you on 2 devices?
Definitely not, but I'm getting the feedback from 503-970-4376. It's not my number, though.
I'll mute that then.
Okay. Let's see. Lisa Drebin.
Hi, everyone. It's Leah Drebin.
Oh, Leah. Sorry.
No worries. It's she, her community member. Thank you very much for having me here.
Thanks, Leah. How about Mark Porras?
Hi, so this is Mark Porras. I use he, him pronouns. Just a interested community member. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here tonight. And Nathan Castle?
Hi, here's a community member, also on the Training Advisory Council, and just curious to see what happens.
Thank you. If I missed somebody, if they want to go ahead and introduce themselves, I think I got everyone. Okay.
Everyone but me, as usual.
Oh, and here you are.
Last but not least. Hello.
No, she called on you, but you didn't answer, just to let you know.
Go ahead, Barb.
Hi, my name is Barb, and I am a community member and a PCCEP groupie at this point. Thank you.
Thanks for being here, and thank you, everyone. Tonight, we are going to focus our meeting on directives, but as Debbie Iona alluded to, she wanted to know if there was any maybe Jared could comment on the status of the settlement committee or settlement agreement if he'd like to. Jared, I know I'm putting you on the spot, so you don't have to.
No, it's all right. I appreciate the opportunity. I can let you all know that as of today, we expect the August 24th hearing to proceed at 9 a.m. in person at the federal courthouse in Judge Simon's chambers. We encourage everyone to come. Let the court know and the parties know what you believe is going good, going bad, going neutral. It should be changed. All of your comments are going to be welcome. To get into the courthouse, you will need photo identification to get past the marshals. The courtroom is on the 15th floor. Judge Simon's, and it should be well marked, or there are monitors that show that. The status of the enforcement action or the proceedings that are ongoing under paragraphs 178 to 182, which is the non-compliance that the Department of Justice issued back in April. The city responded in May. We've been having meetings, and we expect a mediation to begin shortly with the city, the union, the amici, that's the Albina Ministerial Alliance, and the Mental Health Alliance, probably to begin in September after the court hearing. We're still trying to frame the exact issues that will be presented. I hope to know more and report at the court hearing on August 24th, and I'll certainly keep this committee apprised if there's any new movement. We have agreed on a mediator. Some of you may know Judge Stacy Beckerman. She is a magistrate judge, federal judge, and the parties, the city and the Department of Justice, have agreed on her to serve as the mediator, and she has accepted that appointment. Again, we still don't have a first mediation session scheduled, but as soon as we do, I'll certainly let everyone know. And that's got to be a tricky scheduling issue with the judge and then the various counsel for the entities. If there are specific questions, I'm happy to answer them. Debbie, I didn't know if you had something specific or but Anne or anyone else. I do think it's a good idea to go and listen, even if you don't have comments to make to the court. And it's definitely an option. Anyone who's interested in hearing the proceedings are welcome to join. We're trying to finalize a schedule and agree upon the parties and the amici. We expect to have 20 or 30 minutes for the PCCEP members to give comments to the court. And typically all afternoon will be reserved for the community to come and comment. So, there will be no shortage of time. If you want to submit a statement without going to the court, you can do so in writing. You could send that to me, or you could send it to PCCEP, or, just let me know. You could send it directly to the court. I can give you the address of the deputy clerk. So that is an option. I just want to lay that on the table. Amy, did you have a question for me?
Yes, sorry, I'm on my new phone, so I'm trying the buttons. Yeah, my question is, the last time I remember going to the courthouse, it was like standing room only, and they wouldn't let us in because there was like a person capacity, to the room. And so I'm concerned about the COVID issues that's being launched, like tomorrow, and whether or not they're going to have a limit on the number of people in the room based on COVID.
I understand that concern. It's one I share. I don't control Judge Simon's courtroom. Judge Simon does, and I'm sure he will have some limitation, typically on cases of public importance where there are more community members than available seats. There is an overflow courtroom where you can go and they'll show the video of what's happening next door. There will be a defined time, or a close to defined time, for PCCEP comments and for any member of the public, and so you can time your entry to the court. And again, that option to submit written comments is open to everyone, and I can help you get those to the court if you send there yourself.
Yeah, no, I won't be able to go because of work, but definitely wanted to know about the experience around like crowded courtrooms. You know what I mean? During COVID. That's all I'm getting at. Thanks.
Understood.
Yeah.
We also have a PCCEP response, and I've asked Claudia if she could put it in the chat, our latest response that as PCCEP members we have voted on and will be presenting. But as Jared said, we're inviting everyone to go be there at the court. It's from 9 a.m. till 5. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the end time is a soft end time. If we run out of community members who want to speak earlier than that, we'll end earlier than that. I believe one year we went till closer to 7 o'clock because there were more community members who wanted to speak.
Jared, I was just wondering, this is Theolata, I was just wondering if, I know that MHA, at least as one entity, was asking about an online video submission or some kind of an online format. Is that not going to happen at all in any capacity?
Again, I've heard that from them too. That's going to be for them to ask the court. You know, I'm a simple plaintiff here. I represent the United States, so maybe I'm a big plaintiff, but the court is going to control the courtroom and how the court wants to or is willing to take public submission, whether that's through an online submission portal or whether that's through some sort of Zoom or WebEx. I don't know what the court's capacity is. I will follow up because once we get a proposed schedule, which I expect in the next day or two, then I can submit that to the court and invite any of the court's other ideas. I'm willing to call the deputy clerk tomorrow too to check in to see if they have ideas for this, because really, again, it's the judge's courtroom and the judge gets to control how and why things are done.
Got it. Thanks, Jared. I was just asking in case community members wanted to use that as a resource to submit their public comment, but it sounds like you know as much as we know about that. Thank you very much.
That's exactly right, Theo, and I appreciate that. And the same answer really to Barb's question about proof of vaccine. I don't know. I do know because I had an argument in court, not Judge Simon's courtroom, but Judge Acosta's courtroom on Tuesday that masks were required. So bring your ID, bring a mask. And even while I spoke and gave my argument, I had to wear a mask. So that is, yeah, I expect Judge Simon will do the same.
Well, thank you for that information. And are we still unclear if people sign up to testify, or do we know anything more about that?
I know based on past practice, there will be a sign-up sheet outside of the courtroom, and you can put your name so that there's an orderly process. That's for general community members. There is going to be a set-aside time for PCCEP members to come say what they want to say. And I know you have a group statement, but I also know that some individuals like to speak individually on PCCEP.
Well, thank you. Is there any other questions for Jared?
I can't answer Barb's question in the chat box. Is it weird that PCCEP has not been told more? I don't know how to define weird. I think they have about as much information as I do. So is it weird that I don't have more? I don't know.
Jared, my apologies. I didn't proofread it. It was just supposed to be a rhetorical statement. Isn't it weird? It was not a question to you.
Ah, got it.
My apologies.
I certainly wish I could have more information today, and I'm sorry that I don't. But I have shared with you what I know.
I have one question, just possibly on process. So you have said that you have agreed on a mediator after the court date. I thought that the mediation happened before the court date. And that's just my not knowing. Can you speak
Yeah.
to that?
Yeah, let me explain. Every year there's a status conference, and the status conference in the courtroom is about compliance assessment, where the city is at in terms of meeting the agreement. And the United States gives a presentation, all the other parties, the amici, give a presentation. So that's one side, compliance assessment. When the United States finds the city has not complied with the agreement, we have an enforcement process. That's a 5-step process that starts with the notice that we issued in April, then the city responded in May, and then we had some meetings after that. And the 4th step in that process is mediation. So if our concerns aren't resolved, we put what's remaining into mediation. And that is where we have the mediator selected, but we don't have a first mediation date. And we're gonna do some scheduling. We're gonna define the scope of the issues and submit that to Judge Beckerman to mediate. And that is not gonna happen before the court hearing. It doesn't matter one way or another. I mean, I wish it had sort of been a little bit speedier, but it's the government is a bureaucratic, slowpoke. But that doesn't mean, at the end of the mediation, either our concerns are going to be resolved, or then we would go to the 5th step, which is a motion to enforce the agreement in court. And that would be a separate court hearing, because this court hearing is just about the compliance assessment. It happens every year at a different time. I think we're supposed to meet in March or February, but COVID. But there would be a second court hearing if there were a motion to enforce because mediation was unsuccessful. There may even be an independent court hearing if mediation is successful, and what comes out of that is a agreed upon order that the court would want to, have hear from the public before he entered that order. So just a separate track under the same settlement agreement. I hope that makes sense. I know it's confusing, and I hope I'm clear.
No, thank you. So then, just to review, so then if the issues are not mediated and addressed to both sides' desires, then you'll have another court date. And then after that happens, there could be a judgment or a decision based on, I'm just saying, the issues of non-compliance, and then something else would happen after that.
That's exactly right. And so if mediation isn't successful, and I'll say it's not just the United States and the city of Portland, because we are going to have the union at the mediation, and then the Albina Ministerial Alliance, and also the Mental Health Alliance, because they have the amica status, friend of the court status. So they'll be there too. And we will try to resolve it to the satisfaction of both the city and the United States and everyone else there. And if not, then we would go to court and we would fight about whether or not there's been a non-compliance, and if so, what the remedy should be. And the court would have the decision-making power at that point.
Thank you. Barb, do you want me to ask your question, or would you like to? That's in the chat.
You can ask it.
So Barb's, I don't know if you read this, Jared. She's wondering about the yearly compliance about everything, or just the PCCEP part.
It's going to be about all the parts. Mm-hmm. And, we're still preparing our presentations, but I believe it's also going to, touch on the status of the enforcement process, the notice of noncompliance. And then Jonas typically presents on sections 3, 4, 7, and 8. And I'll present on sections 5, 6, and 9. And section 9 is the PCCEP part. So to answer your question, the yearly compliance is about everything, not just the Portland Committee on Community Engaged Policing.
Thank you. Is there anything else for Jared before we move on? Okay, I don't see any hands. So tonight, as we talked a few months ago, the Settlement and Policy Subcommittee was going to have a space for reviewing directives so that the community could have input on them. The timing of when we decide what we're going to have in our meetings and when the directives are posted is a little bit, I'm still figuring that piece out. So if you look at our agenda for today, the top 3 directives, 640, bias crime reporting, we're not talking about that. That's already past our process time. The directive, Bureau cooperation with Federal Bureau of Investigation Joint Terrorism Task Force, 750. We're not going to be speaking about that either. Actually, those are only the 2. So we will have time today to talk about Directive 1020, Weapons Administration, 310.20, Discrimination, Harassment, and Retaliation Prohibited, and Directive 310, Professional Conduct and Courtesy. I do know there's a number of additional directives that are noted for discussion, and they only go through the 31st of this month. As we have talked about here before, we can continue to review them, and if anyone has any feedback, we can give that feedback to the Bureau. I'm not seeing that Mary Claire is here tonight or anyone from her department. I did speak with her about it, and so I think what we will do tonight is just go over, I have some notes, and if anyone else has gone over the directives and has anything they'd like to discuss further, we can do that. My understanding is that the directives are the rules in which the Portland Police Bureau officers follow in doing their jobs. That is my understanding, and I'm sorry there isn't anyone here from the Bureau to say yes or no to that. Does anyone else have a different understanding of that? I don't see any hands, so we'll go through with that. So the first one that we're going to look at is Directive 1020, Weapons Administration. I don't know, Claudia, if you can share your screen and you have that, if you want me to. I have that on my screen.
It's okay, I can share it, no problem.
Perfect, thanks. So the 1020 Weapons Administration.
Can everyone see that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
The one thing I was wondering, and again, I'm sorry that no one is here from PPB, is that they have copies of, I've looked over these in the last few days, and they have red line. And in the red line, they say that it is updated, but I had some questions about some of the red lines. So I guess we can just begin. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say initially about any comments about this directive or any thoughts about it?
Can you possibly just kind of quickly scroll through so we can see the part where the redlining is? I'm not sure that I remember.
Right. Yeah, keep going. I have 1.2. So if you keep going just a little bit further. No, it was 1 point. I think it's back. Sorry. 1.1.2. It is.
Hey, Ann, that's okay. I'll just wait till you get toward it. It's not a big deal.
I actually wanted to talk about it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah,
we set this up ahead of time.
Yeah, it's right above firearms, so go up just a little bit further. Okay, stop.
Stop.
Go back down. This isn't, go back down a little bit. Okay.
There you go.
So in my, on my copy that I'm looking at, the 1.3, there used to be one that said 1.3, a member shall not carry a firearm if they're impaired by intoxicants to a noticeable or perceptible degree. So this is the latest update. It's no longer red, so I'm not really sure why. But 1.3 kind of, I think, is a better, it's more expansive on that. I mean, as the information from Portland Cop Watch, it gets to the point of, you know, not wanting to have someone that's impaired. Oh, hi, Mary Claire. Mary Claire just joined. Someone who's impaired, you know, carrying a weapon. Also, back on firearms, back just a little bit further up.
Firearms is going to be down.
Oh, sorry. I'm noticing that I'm sorry. It's kind of hard to look at there and then look at my notes too. Let's just go down to 3, shotgun. You're right there. It appears, and Mary Claire, if you're here, if you could hop on and say, the copy that we have that we're viewing right now is, I guess, the most updated because it no longer has the red strike throughs and the changes noted. Is that correct?
Let's see. I apologize, hon. I, got tied up with some other urgency. So tell me where you're at. I'm sorry. You're looking at.
We're looking at 1020 and we're on 3.
Okay. And so
3.1. So what Claudia is showing is no longer has the red changes. So
yeah.
This is.
Are these the ones that we talked about that have already been enacted?
No.
Okay. All right. So hold on. I'm trying to. Oh, I can't scroll down. I'm sorry. So to remind me what your did you take it off second review or where did you take it?
Second review. It's off of second review.
Okay.
Through the end of this month. And what I'm noticing is that the red lines have been changed.
So yes, and I'm sorry, I'm catching up with you. Sorry, folks. Yes, so what this would be is the version that we are proposing based on, after it being up at universal review and getting people's comments, looking at our subject matter experts, whatever, doing the executive reconciliation. This version would be what we are proposing that the chief enacts. So yeah, so if you got questions about this would be our final sort of draft, but we take comments and to UR as well, but we've basically taken all the comments and suggestions from the first universal review, put them in, and this is where it stands at the moment. And of course, it still has to go to DOJ and stuff.
So is there a different copy that's redlined or do the red lines just fold in by now?
The red lines are already, I mean, all the comments have been incorporated into this one.
Yeah, thank you. And it's my understanding we still can comment through the end of the month. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Mary Claire?
Yes. Sorry,
Okay.
can't you hear me? I said yes, yep.
Okay, can we go down just a little bit further to right after 3.6, right down, okay, stop right there, please. There was a 3.7, a shotgun issue log, and it has been redlined, and I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but why was that taken out?
What did it have, hon? Sorry.
The shotgun issue log. It shall be maintained by the precinct to record the daily use and check-in of shotguns. The log shall be reviewed during each shift by a supervisor. That has been taken out, and I was wondering if you knew why.
I don't off the top of my head, but it may well have just been put in a different place. Sorry.
Do you know where it, because I didn't see it in a different place, so I didn't know.
I will get you that answer. Where did 4.3 go? Okay.
I know it's really a large document, so I'm surely I could have missed it, but that seemed like a good thing to have in there. And if anyone has any comments, please just say them.
Okay, I counted to 10. It's Barb. And I know from listening to the scanner before, the police scanner before it was stopped, that it seemed like at least one shift every day or two, there was a supervisor looking for the rifles because they hadn't been signed out appropriately, obviously. And so it seems to me like this is a really good thing to keep because it seems like a really good thing to know.
Oh, absolutely. And I apologize. I'm not well versed on this at the moment because I didn't know that we were gonna, and I'm sorry, Ann, we should have followed up after we talked the first time and you weren't gonna do the ones that we had already done, but we certainly do track them. I just got to find out whereabouts, whether she moved it to, another policy where all the tracking is, because, we have to keep track of munitions and stuff like that. So I will find out for sure, but you're right.
That's like something we would like to know.
Yep, I know, writing it down.
Good, great. Okay, and then that's all I have for that one. If anyone has anything else, if not, we can move on to 310.20, discrimination, harassment, and retaliation prohibited. I think we can move on to that one. And thank you so much, Claudia, for sharing your screen.
No problem. I can go ahead and put the next one up as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you could scroll down to complaints of misconduct, it is number 5. Great. Thank you. On 5.1.1, if the accused employee makes such a conduct or takes action against a bureau complainant, that complainant is encouraged to notify a supervisor as soon as practicable. It used to be, but no later than 24 hours after the contact. Do you know why that was taken out, Mary Claire? That also was in 5.1.2. And I think it's helpful to have a time frame. So that also said,
I think that the 24 hours was in case, it was, night, weekend or what have you, or their supervisor isn't, isn't available or what have you, but once again, I will.
the thing I'm wondering about that is practicable could mean it's kind of subjective in my mind. And I think previously the saying, giving a time frame no later than 24 hours after the contact, I think is appropriate.
If the accused makes such contact or takes action.
On 5.1.3, it says, but
Yeah.
no later than 24 hours. I think it's good to have a time frame in there. So I'm wondering, if we could get that information back prior to our meeting, our full board meeting.
Yep, time frame omitted in 2 sections, but left in the 1, right?
Right. And then if we go down to 6.1.
Hey, Ann,
Uh-huh.
the voice of Barb, real quick. The 5.1.1
Mhm.
almost makes sense because that's when the complainant is encouraged to notify a supervisor. So that would mean that somebody could, take more than 24 hours to figure out if that's the right thing to do and not feel like they missed their window. But the second one, the 5.1.2, I totally agree. That's back on the police department.
I'm guessing,
makes
Barb, you're
sense.
probably right. It was changed based on who we were talking about, but I will check with Ashley for sure.
Okay,
And
I just,
Anika, if you have any recollection, please feel free to chime in. When you
Yeah,
were-
I hear what you're saying, Barb. I agree with you. I'm just wanting to have some sort of a time frame, even if it is for the complainant, so that, it doesn't.
Yeah, but you don't want the complainant to think they only have 24 hours, I guess. is
Right. Maybe
So
we could
if you
say
put a time
within,
limit,
yeah,
then, they can, this statute of limitation, they can raise it whenever. We just want them to do it as soon as possible for a lot of reasons, obviously. But I don't know that you want to limit any person who's, alleged victim to think that they can't do it after 24 hours.
okay. So we'll just wait to hear back from you on those. And I like that, Barb. So I think continue with that. Down to 6.1. I'm wondering, again, it's that as soon as practical, members shall report any discriminatory, harassing, and or retaliatory behavior they observe or become aware of in accordance with the Directive 330 Internal Affairs Complaint Intake and Processing as soon as practical. It seems like that could also be no later than 24 hours after the contact, or is that another thing? We don't want to hem them in terms of when they put in the complaint, because I was wondering about that as well.
I think that might have the same, theory, but I will check with Ashley and the team.
Great.
6.1, right? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else have anything on the rest of that one? All right, then we could go to let's see. 3.1, 310.00. Claudia, if you could. And I want to appreciate everyone here listening to this. This is so, there's so much information in these. So I think as we move forward, I think it would be best if we just did a couple each time if possible. Very technical. And I appreciate everyone being here as we go through this. So this one, section 5.1.1, if we could go to that. Is that this one? No, that isn't this one, excuse me. This one I don't have anything for. So if anyone has any feedback they'd like to share.
Folks can also click on the link. It's in the agenda as well as in the chat. So if you want to run through it, we have it on the shared screen, so we could also discuss any points that you may have. But you can scroll up and down at your leisure if you just click on the link. It's in, as I said, both the agenda and the chat.
Thank you, Theo.
Of course.
So we could just scroll through this. We could. I think in general, this, as I see PCCEP's, one of PCCEP's roles is to help the police with their community relations and trust within the community. Those are my words. I am hopeful that that officers will adhere to these and continue to try to rebuild the relationships. Barb, do you have a question?
It's from me, so it's probably more like a comment. But just looking at that before it scrolled by about officers may not use profanity unless they're quoting somebody else. I thought that was really interesting, especially in light of when we look at the George Floyd videos and the very first approach to that car, the cop is just spewing F-bombs right and left. I have no idea if they're actually, quote, allowed to do that, but it just seems like a real bad way to start an interaction.
Are you talking about a Portland a car or Minneapolis?
Mary Claire.
Yeah,
It
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just going to repeat it. It is in the directives that Portland cops can't curse unless they're quoting somebody else.
Yep.
And so I was saying that was really interesting and good in light of what we see happening in the video with George Floyd from Minneapolis.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, good, because I was hoping you hadn't heard that, because, yeah, this is definitely a policy that expects the officers to conduct themselves professionally at all times. So we do not find it appropriate to.
I will say that I have heard in some of our listening sessions, specifically, I think Mary Claire, were you there at the Racial Equity Subcommittee, the meeting where women were speaking of their experiences with Portland police officers? And I know that I heard it there and at other listening sessions, some of the language that has been used with people. And I don't know if, how are you reviewing that? How are you
Well, number one, I mean, I know that number of those, I mean, I don't know when exactly these occurred, but, our process of reviewing is only based on, somebody making a complaint. We wouldn't know that unless somebody told us. If you and an officer have an encounter and you believe that the officer was rude or swore or whatever, it would be incumbent upon you to let us know, and then we would open an investigation on it, but otherwise we wouldn't know that until and unless such time as we have body cams, and then we'll know everything, right? But for those kind of things, both IPR and IA, depend upon people bringing that to our attention to file, a complaint, and then it's investigated, and if it's, sustained, appropriate sanctions would be imposed.
Is that also part of the training that officers are undergoing in terms of, professional?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Professional.
Yeah. Yep. They know they're not supposed to swear at you.
Okay. All right. So that is all I have. If there's any comments that people have, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for Mary Claire to get back to me on the few issues that we brought up and talk about it with other PCCEP members. Our process is that if we do want to put comments on the directives, that we bring them to the full board, and we do have a meeting later this month. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of go over that. If there is, and I know we're kind of early tonight, is there anything else anyone would like to talk about before I talk about our next meeting and possible agenda items for that?
And if I might, I'm a broken record at all of these, but I want to once again, given that there have been, concerns before that we didn't publicize enough that we are having community meetings. So I will again take this opportunity to remind those in attendance that the Bureau is holding in their annual precinct meetings for Northeast and Central next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings by Zoom. It's posted on it's on our website, obviously, but it's posted on the PCCEP website. Every member received an invitation with the Zoom link. We would encourage any and all to attend. We will be, the chief will be addressing, we'll start it off talking about the annual report as a whole, the Bureau, like the overview of the Bureau's year of 2020. And then each night it will then be turned over to the commander of the particular precinct, and they will talk specifically about, the events of 2020, particular to their precinct, and data particular to their precinct and what have you, and give you some perspective of that. So that starts at 6 p.m. each night, and it goes till 7:30. It will be facilitated in order to, keep sense. We will have a facilitator, and the questions as they, if people have questions, we'll ask you to put them in the chat. And then once the presentation is complete, we'll answer the questions. We just have to make sure we can get through the whole presentation that's required by the settlement agreement and talk about all the subjects. So I think we'll probably end up taking questions at the end. Probably the end, break it up and take questions at the end of the chief's presentation, and then secondly, take questions at the end of the commander's particular precinct presentation. Okay, so.
Thank you. I know that Claudia has put that in the chat, and PCCEP is happy that those are starting again. And on the flyer is also the Zoom link on how to join. So we do want to encourage people to participate in that as well. So thank you. And Mary Claire, are there any updates? I know that Chief Davis has accepted another position. Is there
Yes, he
any
did.
idea who is going to take over his role or?
Not at the moment. I think the chief is going to be making that decision in the near future. Commander Bates also submitted his retirement notice, so he'll be leaving. So that position has to be filled as well. So I expect that, the chief is going to have to deal with a number of vacancies, including obviously DC Davis's. And as soon as he makes those decisions, they'll be announced to the public. Let me think what else is new. Oh, well, another thing, 2 weeks from, a week and a half now, is the hearing before Judge Simon. So where is he going? When is he going? I believe his last day is maybe September 3rd, I think, something like that. So it's pretty soon. So other things that are happening at the Bureau include obviously preparing for or the city attorney is preparing for the hearing before Judge Simon, which will happen on Tuesday, August 24th at 9 a.m. at the federal courthouse. I believe you guys have submitted a letter. The DOJ will make a presentation, the COCO makes a presentation, the city attorney union and the amici will also have an opportunity to speak. And then I'm sure, as always, Judge Simon will take comments from the community. So we haven't seen an agenda from him, but that's been his SOP, from the time these started. So that too is open to the public, but you probably will have to mask because I believe there'll be a requirement inside buildings to wear a mask. So
did you see Jared's? We did talk about the court date, and but did you see Jared's question? Is there any insight on who will be the DOJ compliance liaison?
No, it just happened a couple of days ago, and I think that all depends upon all the other moves within the Bureau, to be honest. So there's a lot of movement afoot. So
you're going to continue in that role for the foreseeable future?
Don't mean to put you on the spot, Mary Claire, but I assume someone's going to be in that role.
There will be somebody in the role. We'll just have to wait and see how it shakes down.
Okay. Barb, why don't you go ahead and ask your question? That's Barb.
Yes, Barb is multitasking. It takes a while to get back to the microphone. My bad. And I was actually just hoping that you would, but that's okay.
Okay.
So my question is putting Mary Claire on the hot seat this time. I wouldn't have done that about your retirement, lady. Body worn cameras.
Oh, yeah, that's a good subject.
Okay, good. If you want to give us an update on that, that seems timely.
I don't know that I have so much of a update other than you saw in the Department of Justice shared that was one of the remedies that they're seeking from the city. The Bureau has been in support of that for years, have sought to get that implemented on a number of occasions in the past, and either because of budget or other reasons haven't, but I believe that the tide is turning on this one now. I think you did see also a message from the mayor that went out and his, support of the body worn cameras as well. So I expect that there'll be discussions with, the city council, obviously this, body cams cost a lot of money, not for the cameras themselves, but for all the, attendant things you need, which is it includes, storage, which is very expensive when you think you're gonna have to store every video that, every video that every officer, has taken on duty. You have to have public records employees that are devoted to that, because you can well imagine that there will be lots of requests for that. I mean, the district attorney needs staffing to deal with, trying to come up with that too. So there's a lot of,
Good luck.
pieces, to that, but, from our, well, obviously the city isn't paying for the DA, but so we, at some point there will be a discussion with city council about the funding for, the body cams. But we have already gone down that road a couple of times, so we have at least a draft of a body worn camera policy. We did a lot of community outreach. Some of you may remember when it came up a couple of years ago, lots of public meetings went, there was even a presentation by Tammy Meyer to the PCCEP. So a lot of work, groundwork has already been done. So we'll just wait and see when they find, give us the green light, so to speak, to start moving on.
Call and give my credit card. I'm in the magic meeting. They called me. I have a question, Mary Claire. We've talked about it. We talked about our steering committee meeting, and I was wondering, related to last weekend, the events that happened, the gathering at the waterfront, and the apparent Proud Boys that were hired as, those are my words, hired, I'm not sure, hired as security members. And then there was some issues that happened after that. I'm wondering, it appears that there wasn't a police presence. So there's one issue. The other issue that I'm very concerned about is that there appears to have been a few white gentlemen that were walking around downtown with guns. And I'm just wondering if you have anything to say about that issue. It's very concerning to me.
Sure. And Theo wrote to me earlier today because he said that you're looking for a discussion of that by the Bureau at the meeting, at your full board meeting. I'm probably not the best to explain, what the reasoning, although some of it is staffing related. There were a number of shootings that were occurring, at the same time that the Bureau was responding to, and some of that. But I will have an AC at the meeting that can speak specific to that. If you're talking about the picture in the paper of the guy with the rifle, evidently, it's our information that turned out not to be a real gun, but clearly it's scary as hell. And they can talk to you a little bit about the laws related to that as well.
Yeah, I know we're requesting that. I just thought I'd ask if there was anything that you knew on that. And I also know that it's been reported that that was not a real gun, but I know that in the past that hasn't mattered before when police is there. So, and different things happen. So I'm very concerned about it, and I'll wait to hear from someone at our next meeting. I see Jared has his hand up. Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, I wanted to just call your attention to an email I sent to you and right when the meeting was starting, so I'm sure you haven't got it yet, but there was a flash alert from the PPB system with automated emails saying that individual was arrested today.
Thank you. No, I didn't read it yet, but thank you. Okay, I will read it. So in terms of, does anyone else have anything else they'd like to bring up in our? If not, I'm going to proceed to talk about our next meeting. The agenda for that will be the update. We will be looking at the update from the court hearing this month, later this month. We will be putting most of our meeting to that. And we will also have some time at the end to go over directives again. So please look for our agenda. We will have the directives that we'll be discussing noted, and if you can review and bring any comments you have. If there's nothing else, I know we're going to end a little bit early tonight. I wanted to reiterate that the precinct meetings, and I'm hoping that everyone can attend those or listen. Those will be recorded, is that correct? Those will be available after those meetings. Mary Claire, will it be?
That's my understanding, and they will be, I believe, closed captioned after the fact. So if you watch it afterwards, they'll be closed captioned.
Well, thank you. So we hope to see everyone at our full board meeting in August. I know Claudia has put the agenda and also she's also just noted the precinct meetings. So thank you everyone for being here tonight with us. I appreciate it. PCCEP appreciates it. Everyone have a nice evening. And if you're here in Portland, I do hope you have air conditioning. It's incredibly hot outside. See you at another meeting. Thank you for attending.
Thanks, Ann.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.